I now have the honor of presenting the 2023 Pyne Honor Prize, this university's highest undergraduate distinction. This award was established in 1921 as a memorial to Moses Taylor Pyne of the class of 1877. It is presented annually to the member or members of the senior class who most clearly manifested excellent scholarship, strength of character, and effective leadership in support of the best interests of Princeton University. This year's prize will be conferred jointly on Austin Davis and Ella Gantman of the great class of 2023. Please join me now in welcoming Austin to the stage. From the moment that he arrived on campus in the summer of 2019 as a participant in the Freshman Scholars Institute, Austin Davis has been changing Princeton for the better. We say this about many of our wonderful students, of course, and with good reason, but Austin has gone far beyond the norm. Austin's love of learning, his brilliance as a student, and his particular gifts as a scholar of history are all well attested by those who have taught him. Yair Minsker, the Behrman Professor in the Humanities and one of Austin's advisors, describes him as an inquisitive, open-minded, and wonderfully intelligent reader of historical texts, whose independent work demonstrated depth and breadth of thought characteristic only to advanced graduate students. Others mention the curiosity, the thoughtfulness, and maturity that has shaped Austin's often groundbreaking scholarship. For his outstanding academic accomplishments, Austin has been named a co-winner of the Corrin Prize, awarded to students with the strongest junior records in the history department. He is also the recipient of the department's Stone Davis Prize, which supported research in New Mexico last summer for his thesis on the Ramona Indian School in late 19th century Santa Fe. Professor of History Allison Eisenberg, Austin's thesis advisor, is impressed with the way he has melded historical scholarship with opportunities in the public humanities, including summer internships at museums and archives. Yet what she finds most revealing of his character is Austin's commitment to public-facing work. Austin, she says, is the rare superlative student whose first instinct is to share the skills they have learned with other students. This instinct has inspired in Austin a remarkable record of university service. He has remained actively involved with the Emma Bloomberg Center since that first summer in FSI, working to mentor and empower first-generation and lower-income students as a community ambassador and virtual college advisor. From developing a series of research chats to introduce the methodologies and practices of diverse disciplines, to his weekly Crossin' with Austin virtual New York Times crossword gatherings during the pandemic, he has found ways to sustain community and engage fellow students in the intellectual life of the university. In addition to service on multiple university committees, including the Committee on the Course of Study and the Committee on Undergraduate Admission and Financial Aid, Austin has served as a peer academic advisor in Forbes College since 2020. But perhaps his most significant legacy at the university results from his service as academics chair of the undergraduate student government. In this role, Austin worked with Associate Dean Cecily Swanson to produce the Academic Expo, an event that showcases all of Princeton's departments and academic units for new students. That he was able to produce a compelling virtual event in 2021, followed by a successful return to in-person programming in 2022, is a testament, says Dean Swanson, to his incredible determination, flexibility, and commitment to his fellow students. Austin also collaborated with Associate Dean Rebecca Peoples in the effort to establish minors at Princeton. According to Dean Peoples, he shared equally in the work representing student interests, listening and responding to faculty concerns at town halls, and assisting with the proposal's continued refinement. His interventions, she says, were pivotal to the proposal's ultimate success last April, and the effect of the minors program will be huge, with a greater influence on Princeton undergraduates than just about any other curricular change in the past 30 years. Professor Eisenberg believes that Austin is at the beginning of a long, creative, and original career that will combine his skills with research and writing, his skills with research and writing, his skills with people, and his dedication to something we might call the public good. Austin, we can only imagine the impact that you'll have in your next act. Congratulations.
Thank you, President Eisgruber, for your kind and generous introduction, and I'd also like to thank Dean Dolan and Dean Degnan, as well as the Office of the Dean of the College and the Office of the Dean of Undergraduate Students for making this all possible. To even begin making sense of my time at Princeton, I must go back to 2016. Back then, I was a freshman at Pittsburgh's Taylor Alderdice High School, but that February, my guidance counselor phoned up my English teacher to request my presence in her office. Why? I asked. To my surprise, she explained that my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Randy Green, told her that I must attend Princeton's information session at my school the next day. Both as a high school freshman and now a college senior, now 7 years removed from that day, I find this suggestion patently absurd. Nevertheless, I joined 5 juniors and a Princeton admission officer to talk about the university I now call home. Today, absurdity is not why I recall Mrs. Green's suggestion. Instead, I value this moment for Mrs. Green's care, compassion, and above all, her willingness to stick her neck out for a kid who, on the first day of kindergarten, showed up late and inexplicably started crying during the ABCs. What was in it for her? Spoiling a relationship with a colleague, taking away time from professional development at work? There was nothing in it for her. In the end, she did it out of the kindness of her heart and so that somebody she cared for prospered. It's only been at Princeton that I've grown to appreciate the sheer number of times people have stuck their necks out for me. There has been countless nights my mother's worked so late it was practically morning, tucking away money towards some pension of mine, whether it was ice skating, books, or gas, because I'd always forgot to fill up the tank of the car. Or that in high school, my father would stick around a little longer after work to drive me home after school, even though I know the last thing he wanted to do was sit in traffic on the Homestead Grays Bridge. In retrospect, maybe I should be a more considerate son. Nevertheless, I feel so privileged to have 2 doting, loving parents whose necks must hurt an awful lot. It's not just my actual family. Princeton touts its resources and opportunities, but the real magic are the people who make it all work, who stick their necks out for every day for me and other students. I've been overjoyed to be a history concentrator, contributing to a more complete and nuanced understanding of the past. These contributions, while my own, would not have been possible without the expert mentorship of so many individuals. My first ever history class at Princeton was taught by my thesis advisor, Allison Eisenberg, who was always so generous to carve out time for office hours, to workshop a paper, or to follow up on an errant lead. It isn't just my thesis advisor. From the program administration to all of my instructors, I felt so honored to be part of both a historic and historical department. Long before I declared history, there was also the Emma Bloomberg Center. I don't think I'll ever forget pulling into Princeton and meeting the bright, smiling faces of the Emma Bloomberg Center staff in my first ever RCA welcome me to a place that I only knew through short YouTube videos and a 2 visit a few months before. Even if I'm not in the Emma Bloomberg Center office every day, the people there have taught me how to look at life with an equity focus, to uplift others, and to build a strong community, and to stick my neck out for my peers so that they can prosper at Princeton too. And every 4 years of Princeton, I've been thankful to be a part of the undergraduate student government. Both as historian and the academics chair, I've had the honor of meeting so many inspirational figures around the university who've shown me so much generosity. Whether it's my peers showing up to my focus groups, administrations from the office of the dean of the college meeting with me about any academic issue, or my partners in the USG who kept me on late nights preparing memos or helping me host the academic expo, it's been a wonder to be a part of it. It's a little practice for me to stick my neck out, to advocate on behalf of my peers, and to center their experiences in Princeton's undergraduate academic experience. I'd be remiss if I didn't include my friends who, knowingly or unknowingly, put their necks out for me. There was the time 3 friends showed up on my doorstep, snacks in hand, to give me their well wishes on my 21st birthday, even though I was stuck in bed with a touch of pneumonia. Or the friends who, in their infinite generosity, have trucked me home on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. I'll never forget the socially distanced Thai takeout dinners eaten on the floor during the pandemic, or the many postcards I've received from friends when they go to a museum or elsewhere. Here's to hoping to another Times crossword mini, another viewing of Tom Hopper's Cats, another chess match, or just another meal before a 15-minute walk across campus becomes a 30-minute train ride or a 10-hour flight. And all that I do, whether it's a peer academic advisor, a residential college advisor for FSI, a USG academic chair, I hope that I can live by the example of my friends, family, and mentors. My neck might be a little sore, but at least I know I will have helped others to prosper. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's not mine. Or is it mine?
What?
Oh, it is mine. Thank you.
Hey, buddy?
Yes. Oh, I just...
Thank you. Well, please join me now in welcoming Ella Gantman to the stage. Ella Gantman wants to be part of a vibrant democracy that treats all people with dignity, and she is bringing the passion of an activist, the prowess of a scholar, and the grace of a diplomat to the task of building and sustaining that world. Ella has approached this task in myriad ways during her years at Princeton. As a scholar, majoring in the School of Public and International Affairs and pursuing a certificate in Spanish, she has explored real-world problems through a social and racial justice lens with the goal of developing practical, effective policy solutions. As an activist and Vote 100 fellow, she collaborated with peers to create a new organization, the Poll Hero Project, to engage literally tens of thousands of young people in safeguarding the voting process in 2020. As a leader on the soccer field and in numerous roles on campus, she has worked to ensure that all voices are heard and empowered. And through a series of internships in the nation's capital, as well as in other service activities, Ella has learned firsthand how to put policy ideas into action. A stellar student, Ella was elected to Phi Beta Kappa and earned academic All-Ivy honors in fall 2022. She has been recognized with the 2020-2021 Alberto Santos Dumont Prize for Innovation, and is the 2022 James D. Zirin Class of 61 and Marlene Hess Scholar in the nation's service. Ella's professors uniformly praise the intellectual rigor, analytical skill, and creativity that she brings to academic endeavors. Her senior thesis, focusing on disenfranchisement and incarceration in New Jersey during the 2022 elections, relies on original research drawn from interviews and public record requests. Ella's advisor, Udi Ofer, the John L. Weinberg Visiting Professor and Lecturer of Public and International Affairs, asserts that her research is already producing compelling findings that I believe will lead to changes in jail practices in New Jersey. In addition to what her junior advisor, Corinne McConaughey, calls laser-sharp social science instincts and her gift for empirical research design, Ella is also a remarkable communicator. Elizabeth Rubio, who taught Ella in her Introduction to Asian American Studies course, observes that Ella possesses an uncanny ability to express complex theoretical concepts in accessible terms, a necessary skill for those aiming to help shape political futures. Equally at home, presenting to high school students about adoptee advocacy, or to Congresswoman Cori Bush on policy options for reducing incarceration rates, or engaging peers as a writing center tutor, Ella brings warmth, empathy, and a positive spirit to her interactions with others. She is a true team player. As varsity soccer coach Sean Driscoll describes her, a support system to the whole team, a person who dug deep and gave her best, and whose empathy and honesty helped shape the team's efforts toward greater inclusivity. Ella's vision of democracy is inclusive and nonpartisan, and we are fortunate that she will have the opportunity to develop this vision further as a graduate scholar in the nation's service over the next 4 years. Ella, your passionate scholarship and activism has already made a tangible difference in people's lives and in the quality of our democracy. We can't wait to see what you do next. Congratulations. I'm going to give you something here. Hold on. There we go.
Thank you, President Eisgruber. I'd also like to thank Dean Dolan and Dean Degnan for this honor. It has been 6 years since I took my first recruiting visit to Princeton. That day, my dad and I were scheduled to meet with the women's soccer coaching staff in Dillon Gym. I remember walking up and down and back up Elm Drive for over 20 minutes, fruitlessly searching. Nothing in sight remotely resembled a gym. Luckily, just a few minutes before our meeting time, one of the coaches came out of a building and ushered us inside. Dumbfounded, I thought, wait, this castle is the school gym? In that moment, I felt the gravity of attending a school like Princeton, an ivory tower that could not be more different than the DC public high school I attended. Upon enrollment, these feelings only grew. During my freshman year, for the first time in my life, I was surrounded by friends who attended boarding school, who had multiple vacation homes and wore brands I had never heard of. Moreover, I was unsure of myself and my identity. Adopted from China at a year old by Argentine and Jewish parents, I entered Princeton feeling like pieces of many things, but never fully anything. As such, I did not feel like I belonged to this place. Desperate to fit in, I quietly observed my peers during precept, kept my head down at practice, and shrugged off microaggressions I knew to be problematic. In doing so, I fell silent. Since freshman year, a lot has changed. Silent is not a word any of my friends would use to describe me. Over the last 4 years, the most valuable thing I've developed during my time at Princeton is the full and unapologetic use of my voice, the unfettered ability to stand up for what I believe is right. One space on campus where I found my voice early on was on the women's soccer team. When I arrived to Princeton, the team was primarily white, and I was the only Asian American player amongst the 3 youngest classes. As such, when I looked around the locker room, I saw no one who shared my lived experience. While isolating at first, it pushed me to actively work to put racial justice at the center of our team's values. This would not have been possible without the support of the adults in the room, to Sean Driscoll, who fostered a person-over-player culture where my value never stemmed from my athletic performance, to Mike Poehler, who spent hours on bus rides asking me questions about my views and who treated my opinion seriously always, and to Jess Deutsch, who believed in my ability to drive change and used her platform to elevate mine. Thank you. My time at Princeton has also taught me that once you have established your own platform, your own voice, it is your responsibility to use that privilege to amplify the voices of others, to uplift those who are silenced and empower them to tell their stories. During my time at Princeton, I have worked to share the stories, joys, and struggles of incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people. I remember the words of the lead public defender on a case I was working on the summer of my sophomore year, my first trial where our client was found guilty. He said, "We fight not because our client is innocent or because we like our client or anything else. We fight because we are the only thing our client has standing between him and a government that wants to put him in a cage. It is this sentiment that emboldened me to take ownership over my Princeton education, to use the privilege purposefully, to use my voice to fight for society's most overlooked communities." With this in mind, my junior fall, I took a seminar titled Policy Responses to Mass Incarceration with Professor Udi Ofer. I didn't know it at the time, but this decision would shape the rest of my Princeton education. Udi inspires a relentless pursuit for justice in his students, emphasizing a bold reimagination of the carceral system. As my junior paper and senior thesis advisor, Udi encouraged me to center the voices of incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people in my independent work. I am a more informed student and advocate today because of this perspective. Thank you, Udi. My time at Princeton has shown me that voices are powerful. I'm humbled that mine has been recognized today through the Pyne Prize. But in winning this prize, I must also recognize the many people who use their voices to uplift mine. I would not be here without you. First, I would like to thank my professors, Professor Alec Dunn, who was the first professor whose office hours I attended, whose compassion for a timid freshman is the reason I learned it is okay to ask for help at Princeton. Professor Nicolas Sanchez Rodriguez, who uses every piece of feedback he gives his students to make us feel smart, finding deeper meanings in our assignments than we ever intended. Professor Elizabeth Hanna Rubio, who shared conversations with me about mixing her Asian, Argentine, and Jewish cultures, conversations which made me feel completely seen for the first time in my life. I would also like to thank the Cincy co-directors, Kit Looney and Rick Barden, who have invested in my future education and career through the Cincy Graduate Fellowship. I would like to thank my friends, Serena, Cami, Morgan, Sherm, Gray, Marissa, Maddie, Dorothy, and Aria. Laughing with you is my favorite part of every day. Finally, and most importantly, I would like to thank my parents. My mom, who never made me feel like I had to be the best to be worthy of love, and my dad, who reminded me I had the ability to be the best if that is what I wanted. It is this combination that allowed me to push myself to my academic, athletic, and personal limits, while also reveling in the joy of pursuing each of these endeavors. I love you both. Over the last 4 years, these people at Princeton have amplified my voice. As I look onto the horizon beyond our orange bubble, I will use this unique privilege intentionally, but always remembering to pass the microphone to those still looking to find theirs. Thank you.